Hi, everyone. We're back
Hi,
again.
everyone. And we are going to follow up from our last video talking more about self-care and in the domain of relationships. So I wanted to dive into different aspects of how to keep and maintain good relationships as we're all struggling and going through this big adjustment with COVID and just parenting in general, the stressors around parenting. So I think before, when we weren't allowed to see people, I was highly recommending that people continue to meet with their friends or loved ones, family members through virtual meetings. I know some people are still doing that right now because there's people that are still uncomfortable exposing themselves to others if they have pre-existing conditions that put them at risk. I know for myself, I tend to shy away from meeting with a lot of people because of my daughter who has asthma. And I don't know how COVID how it'll affect her. So I've made that decision, and I'm sure there's other parents going through the same thing. But making the time, regardless of if I'm meeting with people in small groups or if I'm meeting with them via the internet, that it's something that I make a priority, because I think it's very important to balance out your life with not only the stressors of parenting, but also just addressing the parts of yourself that are outside of parenting, just being a human being and connecting to other humans. Another aspect of relationships that I think folks should nurture are their relationships with their significant others, meaning that they have maybe some set date nights. And again, if you don't want to go out, you can still have like some set time at home. Maybe the kids can go with a friend if you're comfortable with that, or if it's after they go to bed. You have time that's specifically designated for the two of you to check in, talk about things, and hopefully talk about things that bring you joy too, not just the stressors, but having moments of joy in your relationships with your partners. And if you decide to talk about maybe some harder conversations during this alone time, which is just as relevant and just as important as making time for the fun things, that you understand your own escalation signs and when you need to step away. So knowing when you need to say, I'm really just getting a little too heated right now, I might say something that I can't take back that may be damaging to our relationship. I need to take a time out. And I think this is also a good tip as a parent to do with your own kids, saying, I just really need to step away. Mommy needs to go into this other room, or daddy needs to go into this other room just for a little while, and then I can talk to you. I think understanding all of that. Yeah.
I think about too, I think about like not necessarily when we're like super angry, but also when we're shutting down. When we're just not at all like open to, right? Like I'm stonewalling you. I'm just going to like another corner of myself and not really taking in the other person.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because that's just as damaging in a lot of ways, right? Not being available for the conversation. That lends your partner to feel rejected, or that what they're needing to say is irrelevant or unimportant, and that disrupts trust and future communication. So that's a good point. But there's a lot to understanding your own escalation signs. Some folks are really good at understanding that, especially if you have a good mindfulness practice, or you've just been working on this in general. If you don't, I encourage you to talk to other people, look up resources on how to have effective communication with your partners, how to know your own triggers and how to talk about that. A couple quick suggestions on maybe how to process your thoughts if you have identified that you're too escalated to talk would be to journal. Just take a moment and say, this is what I really want to communicate. This is what I'm very upset about. And it could just be your process, and then you go back into solutions. It's up to you on how you want to pace yourself with it. But I think if you were to organize your thoughts and really kind of understand your own needs and why it is bothering you so much, that you can more effectively communicate that to other family members and partners. And this is not just with your significant others. This could be friends. Anytime you need extra support on just managing your emotional dysregulation when needing to talk about something highly sensitive, and just really just highlighting the importance of talking about it before it gets out of hand, because then at that point it's just so much harder. And for those of you that are maybe just are at that point already, that's okay. But just really just taking a step back and giving yourself more time to nurture that part of yourself. And there's, like I said, a lot to it. So if you do need some extra support around this, you can always reach out to Vanessa and myself to either get some more resources or to make it a more of a formal consultation. It's whatever your needs are. But I wanted to put that out there as far as using these recommendations to pay mind to your relationships in your life with everybody, especially just during this time with this pandemic. I know things are starting to slow down in some ways, but then escalate in other ways with the case count going up, us not knowing what's going to happen with school. So just be kind with yourself and just take some time to nurture your relationships.